All right, let's go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Don Cherry's Grapevine podcast. Cindy Cherry here with my dad, Don, and my brother, Tim. Dell's away on vacation, and Tim's manning the shop.
So it doesn't sound good. It's my fault.
That's right. It's your fault, Tim. You know, Dad, Mitch Marner, I mean, from a woman's perspective here, I hear Mitch Marner got engaged. So
Yeah, we saw it on the internet, so it must be
yeah.
true.
So anyway, that led, of course, to a woman's discussion as how much should a guy making $10 million plus a year spend on an engagement ring? And I asked you that, and you know what? I was pleasantly surprised on how much money you said. I thought you were going to be really, really lowball it, like my brother did. And you were, how much did you say?
I never went with anybody in my life till I went out with Rose. Mm-hmm. And I drove back and I worked on public utilities in Kingston. I worked on construction. I was a jackhammer, the whole deal. And I'd walk by and Kinnear and Destier. I know you, Kinnear and Destier. I can't even pronounce it, but I remember it was a classy place. The outside was black and gold, and it was just a small place. And you walked in there, you kind of felt funny.
It was a beautiful store, and
you walked in there, everything was quiet. I never went into my construction. I remember I went in my, I get dressed up as best I could, and I went down and looked all the time. And I think Rose liked that when we drove by, and I said, "That's where I bought your ring," because it really looked classy.
So can you remember how much you spent? Because I know there's probably a formula out there for percentage of your income.
How do we get into this?
Anyway, Mitch Marner's getting engaged, they said. So anyway, we were.
Oh, I think that's great. He's getting married. And I would spend $1 million.
Well, you know what your son said? How much?
10 grand.
$10,000.
10,000. Yeah, he's making 10. No, 10.
And you know what? Tim's wife and me, I said the exact same amount. Minimum $100,000.
And I said $1 million.
$1 million.
That's all. I don't want to get into it.
One funny thing, though, I got to say, Dad, was when we were watching Marner play in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't doing very well. You know what Dad said to me? He looks like he's in love.
Oh.
I did.
You did? That's what you said. I don't know. He says, I've seen it before. You know what it looks like? I go, what? He goes, it looks like he's in love. His man's not on the game.
You know what?
You've said that a couple times in the past. I remember you said that one time about a Mississauga ice dog, and here to find out, we were at the coffee, and you said, he reminds me of a guy that's in love, and the guy was dating my babysitter, and everyone looked at me.
I remember two guys. Two guys. When we went to the Boston Bruin camp in Hershey, there was two guys. One was Jimmy Robertson. God love him. He's dead now. He was a guy that we must talk about Jimmy Robertson someday. He was in love. And Freddie Pletch. And they were both, you out of your mind. You got a chance to make the Boston Bruins. And they were both in love. And you can tell the guys not quite there. And they were better hockey players. And they could hardly wait to get home.
So that is a syndrome of a hockey player, that they play like they're in love.
I don't know about Marner.
But you said it half jokingly when he flipped the puck into the over the boards and got the penalty.
Oh yeah, and
Dad goes, where is his mind? He's like, it looks like he's in love or something like that. That's what you said.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
So I said $1 million. Well, I'm glad I said $1 million to make you happy.
Yes, that's true.
I know a lot of people don't know that the league is starting up again. I know. And
what's the date? Do they have a fixed date?
The NHL, and I wrote it down, October 12th, and they're going to play 82 games. We played 80. They played an extra 2, and it ends April 29th. I just thought I'd throw that in. A lot of people don't know. They think, are they going to start up again? They start early, and I like this here. But they always have either us or the Montreal Canadiens open up a new arena. and New Jersey is in their old arena, and they're November 20th. They're in the new arena. So the Islanders, they'll I don't know. I think
But
they'll
the Islanders are in their new arena.
Yeah, the Islanders. So they're gonna miss that old arena, boy. That they people love that. There was lots of parking, and it was way around. So anyhow, we'll have to see. So I just thought I'd throw that in for the people listening. I tell you the truth, I didn't know that they were starting on October. I didn't know whether they were going to start early or they're going to start later. What?
Dab, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Spreads.ca. It's a Canadian-owned online casino and sports bet, and if you sign up today, you get 10 big spins on the big wheel to win some big dough. And if you use the promo GRAPES, then they'll match your deposit up to $500, and your first sports bet, they'll spot you $25.
All right.
So I got to tell you one thing, though, Dad, about just talk about that, and we'll get into them a little bit later. After this show, I'm putting $50 on the Blackhawks winning the Stanley Cup.
Oh, what are they? What's the odds?
I don't know. I got to look at they were pretty far back, and I haven't checked them lately. But we'll talk about all their signings.
That's a good bet, and I'll tell you why it's a good bet. This is their last shot. I think Jonathan Toews is coming back. I hope he's coming back because he's a nice fellow. Kane knows this is the last, and they've got a good defenseman, boy. And
well, we'll just talk. Maybe we'll talk about them just for a second because we were just saying that they have Toews and Kane have 2 years left on their contract.
Yeah.
Right. And they got that Seth Jones. They got the big stud defenseman.
And boy, he is a beauty. I'll tell you that.
And then they got Fleury.
They get Fleury, and I hope Fleury comes back. Fleury's going to come back with a chip on his shoulder. The show that
which is what you want.
Well, I didn't like the way he left Vegas. All he's done for Vegas, he made the franchise the first couple of years.
But you and I were talking about this yesterday, and you said you think the thing with Brad with Kelly McCrimmon not sending him, supposedly not telling him, and all that was that stemmed back when Fleury's agent had that picture of the sword in his back.
That was unbelievable. I showed that on Hockey Night in Canada, didn't I?
No, that was after.
Oh, it was after. I remember that. It showed it showed a sword going right through his back. I mean.
And it had Peter DeBoer on the sword, so basically saying that DeBoer was stabbing.
There was there shouldn't have been bad feelings there because he did such a great job the first couple of years. And you're right, Seth Jones, boy, he is a stud guy. He plays about 45 minutes a game. And they got Jake McCabe.
Yeah,
I got him from Buffalo for $4 million, and I hope Fleury comes back.
Yeah, I think they said they think I was reading the stuff on the internet that he's coming back. But it was funny. We were just looking, Cindy, at Toews and Kane's lifetime earnings. And
what was it? I forget now.
So they both made just about the same lifetime earnings.
They both went in together.
So they both have made playing hockey $105,762,000. That's been their lifetime earnings.
Don't you often wonder what that feels like to make that kind of money? Like to know that you could go into a store and buy anything you want. I mean, I just can't grasp it.
I know.
We were trying to think, Dad. So if you averaged 6,500 over the 18 years.
No, I averaged about 4,500.
Okay, so even be less. That's around $100,000 you made playing hockey. If it was 6,500, it was 117,000. So it was.
No, I remember I made 4,500. I remember signing for $4,500, and I remember Lynn Patrick taking. We went to the bank together. Honest, I remember this. And we went over and we put it in the bank. And I often said to you, Cindy, if I had bought Hershey stock then.
Because someone told you to buy Hershey stock.
Yeah, somebody said that you should put all that money in. So I come back and I had an old car, and I remember, I forget the guy's name, Mr. Eves, I think it was, drove up a 55 custom Ford, and it was light blue inside, and did it ever smell nice? You know how they smell like. And he said, "Now, which car would you like?" He got me out of bed. I was sleeping in.
Well, you do what most kids would do. You went
Yeah.
out and bought a car.
What happens is, back in those days, the first thing you do is buy a car. And you know what?
You've made
I
it.
never regretted buying that car. I had that car for a long time. It was absolutely blue, light blue. It was a custom, and it wasn't the most expensive. And it had a light blue cloth interior. Boy, it was nice.
Well, you never made a lot of money, but you always had nice clothes and you always
Yeah,
had
nice
good cars.
You know what's funny thing you say that? I was riding with Jack. I forgot his name now. His general manager. I forgot his name. And we're riding, and he said, "Don, you know, gee, I'll remember his name. I'll mention it." And he says, "You don't mind me saying this, do you, Don?" And I,
Uh-oh, that's never good.
no, you know. So he says, "I know your salary," and I said, and he says, "But you always are dressed nice."
Even back then.
Well,
I did-
it was funny because we were watching some home movies the other day.
Yep.
And like back in Rochester,
8mm.
8mm things, and my wife said, "You," and he goes, "Your mom and your dad and you and Cindy were always dressed nice, and you always seemed to have nice cars back then."
I don't know how we did it.
That's what I said. How did Mom do it?
I always think of that for the money that you made. I look back and we always had lots of food. We were beautiful furnished
Yeah.
homes. I
And
don't
making
know
45
how you and Mom, I guess Mom knew how to glorify hamburger.
Well-
You know what? I mean, she was a champ at cooking. And
Yeah, we used to make that hamburger Helper a lot.
yeah, and Salisbury steak.
But you know what? You know what I did? I'd come home from Kingston on a Friday, and the public utilities were good enough to start me on. I'd start to work Monday, so we had money coming in all the time, and it was tough work. And we had Mel Price, and I used to be on the jackhammer. And you know, it's a funny thing. I never got any higher than a laborer, and he ended up a boss, Melville Price, and he was him and Brian Kilray. I got a call from Brian Kilray yesterday. You know what? I think he wanted to see if I was still alive.
You get a lot of calls from people and all. They're saying
and
hi.
what they say is, how are you doing, Don? And I'm doing fine, and I'm having a lot of fun. But they say they listen to the podcast. So anyhow, I got a call from Brian. Brian Kilray's doing good. Boy, we should do about 3 shows on
You know what? A lot of people come up to me and say, your dad reminds me of my dad so much, but I never say that for only one person, and that's Brian Kilray. I said he reminds me. He's like you on steroids, though. I mean, you take your personality, and he's like one step above.
Oh,
the
him and
things that he
and
says.
Whitey Smith, Captain Whitey Smith.
Oh, I love Brian Kilray. He's such
Yeah.
a great guy.
Yeah, and anyhow, he phoned in and he says, everybody asked me in Ottawa how you're doing. And I said, I'm doing fine. So I tell them I'm doing fine. I often wonder if they asked anyhow. And I have a lot of fun. And Tim, I want you to tell me if I want to make a bet. I want to make a bet. Like I want to bet Chicago too. What do you do to get on our?
So to get on it, you go on to the website spreads.ca, and then you sign in, and then you do your name and you do a password, and then once you get through that, then you have to put a deposit down of money. So you could do that through your credit card.
No, I don't understand that. What do you mean put a deposit down?
Well, you got to put money.
Like if you want to bet on Chicago,
But you got to put money into
In a
your
kitty.
account.
Oh, I see.
So an account, and then you can bet whatever you
Oh,
want.
I got it.
So you put it in your account.
Not hard.
No, it's it takes you 5 minutes if that. And then you go on, and then you can go on the casino, and you can play all the different video games casino-wise. You can play live blackjack. It's unbelievable. Or you go on the sports book, and then you can bet on just about every sport that's out there.
So I want to go on. I go on and I go on your internet or whatever you do. What do you do again? Give us.
You go on spreads.ca, and then you sign in, and then you put a deposit down into your kitty, and then you just go and you go into the sports book, and you look and you hit hockey, and then they'll have Stanley Cup odds, and then you see Chicago, and then you push Chicago, and then
You got to be, as they said, be reasonable and don't get carried away like Evander Kane.
yeah. Well, we won't get into that.
Why?
Well, you want to get into that?
Sure.
Well, did you read what happened? Now he's in trouble. They think that he's bet on his.
Well, they don't know. He bet on his team, and his wife has buried him. I mean, boy, I don't know what else she could say about him.
But
What did she say?
Oh, it was just awful that he took off and hasn't talked to him, and just allegedly, right? We'll say allegedly.
Allegedly. Did I ever tell you this story? This guy, Nancy Green, I had to say she was very upset about I said some guy was a creep. She said, "You're not supposed to say that." And I said, "Well," and she said, "You can say he's alleged creep."
Allegedly a creep.
And you know, I never forget Nancy Green. There's a picture of me and Ron, and I've got my thumb up and I've got my finger out, and and that picture they had blocked out my finger because it looked like a gun.
I remember
Well,
that.
we'll get off topic. We'll talk about some of the signings coming up. But with Nancy Green, she fired you. Remember the whole story?
Oh,
that
yeah.
You've been fired about 3 times with CBC. But
I was fired about.
But she fired you, and then one event happened, changed her mind.
We were going down. For some reason, she was on the plane with me, and we flew to Halifax, and I landed in Halifax, and all the people, I can milk it pretty good, and they all come, getting my autograph. She's, holy smokes, if I fire this guy. And then, to top it all off with, as we talk here, I just remembered she had a friend, and her friend said, "My kids won't go to bed till they see you." I knew, so she didn't fire me. I think she wanted to fire me.
Well, there was a lot of producers.
No, she told you, this is your last year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember she told me.
And what's your tagline? When all the producers always
We'll
said,
see.
Well, we'll see. That's your tagline.
I remember I had a meeting. It was down at Blue Jay Way, and why I was doing down there, I don't know. And I walked in, and all the guys knew me there and everything.
Probably your bar. You had a bar down there.
I don't know, Blue Jay Way.
Yep.
And there was a guy named Harold Redikoff. He was the head of CBC or one of the.
Yeah, he was one of the
was
head.
way up there.
He was one of the head guys.
Yeah, and he was retiring. I remember he was retiring, and he was sitting there, and I remember he was sitting to my right, and she was sitting across, and I remember they had bran muffins, which was good, and coffee. So I remember the one thing he said to me. He said something to the effect like this: "I am retiring in about 3 or 4 months." He says, "and my legacy is to get rid of you." And he said that to me, and I looked at her. And
They remember what he said after that, though.
yeah, and I said, and just what I said was just drove him wild. He just went nuts, and I thought it was funny. Yeah, it must have been nuts. I must have been nuts in those days. I said, "Well, we'll see."
Yeah, but he said, and you go, something like that, and he goes, "And you know what? I'm retiring." And he says,
Oh, yeah.
He goes, he says, "When the shit hits the fan," he says, "I'll be on my cottage in Amherst Island, and I won't care."
And I don't care. And he says, and he says, "and I know it'll hit the fan." And he says, "but I don't care because I'll be on my island." I think all those left wingers go to that island.
At Amherst Island down around Kingston.
Yeah, I think all the left wingers are
And
there.
then they didn't fire you.
No, and here, now that we're on that, and again, Scott Moore was going to fire me. This is a true story. Hey, I'm going to get fired an awful lot, aren't I? So anyhow, he was going on. He was on the plane with me too, and we stopped, I think, in Edmonton. And there's people that come up and all that. And he said, I think it was Halifax again. Now that I think of it, and I remember, he says, "I'll be noted for 2 things." He says, "Yeah, if I fire you, I'll be noted for 2 things. I get rid of the song, that dun 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 dun, and he said, I lost the song and I lost you. He said, that'll be my legacy for CBC."
Yeah, because when you used to walk through the airports at the time, I mean, you were like a rock star. You and Ron, like you guys just, if you guys stopped, you were dead. And the people
Used to be like in The Man Who Would Be King, brass it out. And one time, I remember this I could 100 times. Ron went and got a shoe shine. And I was left down below. And, the people coming up asking for autographs. And he sat on the shoe shine for
I remember you had a big debate on that shoe shine thing. You didn't like when people stopped and got their shoes shined because you thought it was demeaning to the shoe shiner.
I don't know what it was.
And then his theory was that he was helping them out and giving the guy
he was
making
right.
a living. I remember the best thing was when you were being interviewed by Rick Mercer at Fabricland.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the whole interview, he said, "So, Don, how do you think it's all going to end?" And you remember what you said? It was classic.
No.
Again, 2 words, man, a few words, not well. And that was the end of the show. And I look back at that. If anyone wants to Google that interview, that was you at Fabricland picking out fabric for your suits.
I know.
It was great. It's one of the best shows I think he ever did, even though it was
It's
on
a
my
funny
dad.
thing. I walk in Fiberland. Honest to God, this is a true story. I walked in. I knew there had to be roll after roll after roll after roll of different fabric, and I knew which one he picked out.
It was
I
unbelievable.
could see it in the distance, and I picked it out.
No one would have believed that, Dad.
And that's true. And I think the funniest thing, and we couldn't keep from laughing, or I didn't mean it to be laughing. He said in Fabricland, he said, "Well, I'll pay for this." I said, "No, use my card."
Well, the funny part was that when they were buying the material and you said, "No, use my card because you had a membership club. You
Yeah.
were belonging to the membership
And he
club."
thought that was the funniest
He
thing.
thought it was a prop, and I really, he did. He couldn't believe that
Is that
you
right?
had. Oh yeah, he said, he goes, "I cannot believe that your dad would have a membership discount card, at Fabricland."
I think I got
It was-
10% off or
Yeah, you got 10%.
Oh, you got points too and
percentage off.
I didn't.
Do you remember the fabric? And they had a custom-made jacket for
Yeah.
you. What was it of? It was beautiful.
Oh, I don't know.
It
Like a
was
zebra.
It was zebra.
Oh, was it?
You picked it out, and they couldn't believe that is what they
Yeah.
had picked out, and they gave you a zebra jacket. I wonder if do you still have it?
No, they made it for him.
Yeah, they gave it to Dad. Yeah. Do you still have that jacket?
I don't know. I forget. I got.
Well, you should tell the people how you ended up in Fabricland.
How did I end up?
Well, how it was that
Oh,
you
I
went
remember.
it wasn't the Coop, it was another store that you were going to, and they charge, you get your jackets, and then you look for the material, right? And the material was like $1,000 for the material.
Yeah.
And then you went to reupholster your car, and you went into Fabricland because you wanted to see, and then you saw the exact same material, and you said to the lady, "Now, if I was going to make a suit out of that material, how much would it be?" And she says, I don't know, $200. You went, "What?" And
I didn't know that.
yeah, that was it. So I remember you come home and you look and you remember you said to Mom, "Get that bill for me. Get that bill for me." So you looked and it was like they charged you $1,000
For the fabric.
For the
Oh,
fabric.
I didn't know that.
And then you saw it. It was $200. So that was it. You went and bought all the fabric after that.
Yeah, and
You used to say to them, "Tell me how many yards you need in order to make a jacket," and you would go to Fabricland and you get the swatches, and then they would of what you would like, and they'd say, and they would tell you, "Yes, we can make a jacket out of this. No, we can't." And remember, most of the material was a woman's dress material.
yeah, they were.
Women's
They were. They were for women's and
a dress material.
or
Drapes.
drapes or whatever.
Do you know that when we were out west at the WHL hockey games, they have this thing in between periods. You know how they have to entertain the people. And they put these monster things on the ice. And the question is this a couch, the material? Is this a couch or Don Cherry's jacket? And the fans in the audience have to say couch. They have to vote couch or Don Cherry's suit. And they have more fun with this entertainment in between periods out west.
You
they
did that at a
did.
Blue Jay game.
Do
too.
Yeah,
they
the
do that at a
Blue Jay.
Blue Jay
Yeah,
game?
they had it up on the thing.
Oh, I didn't know
Is
that.
this a coach?
Yeah, they had a close-up of the material.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
is
yeah.
it a couch or is it a Don Cherry
Oh, so WHL took it from the Blue Jays, or did the Blue Jays take it from the WHL? But anyway, first time I saw it, I thought it was hilarious.
You know one of the greatest thrills I got was I was at a Tim. You were at the game too. We were watching the game, and and I think there was about 30,000 there. And they started to sing that, and they up on the thing they started to sing the hockey song with Stomp and Tom, and they all looked up at me, and I thought, boy, isn't that really? I got chills thinking. Remember that, Tim?
Yep.
Hello out there, we're on the air. It's hockey night tonight.
Okay, Dad, so what's your thought on the free agency?
Well,
what's the update?
I have to talk to Leafs. You got David Caniff. Has anybody noticed? Am I the only person that noticed that everybody that Dubas picks up is from Ontario or Canada, and everybody he drafts is from Europe? I mean, am I the only one that I haven't read that in the paper. Every guy's from Scarborough, and anyhow, we got Peter Mrazek. He's from the Canes. He's a goalie. He played 12 games last year. He got $3 million, and he's making 3
So he's a goalie. Are they
He's
going
a
to play
goalie.
him next year, or do they?
Well, he'll be the backup.
Backup.
I like Michael Bunting. He's from Arizona. He got 13 points. He plays a tough game. David Caniff. How do you say that?
But you're at Caniff. You said it already. So Curtis Gabriel, he's going to add some grit. He's 6'4". He fought Reeves last year, and he fought Clifford. So he's
They're going to be tougher this year. Nobody's going to walk in.
So the guys that they pick up in free agency are tougher than the guys that they draft. So maybe the coach or someone says, "Hey, you better toughen up this team because of your drafts."
Well, I don't know.
Would that make sense?
Well, there are a lot of them from the Sioux, and
the big signing that you like was Richie.
Oh, I like now Richie. This is a good signing, and I forget what was he making.
Nick Ritchie, he's making
From Orangeville.
Yeah, he's from Orangeville. I think he's making he's signing for 2 years, is $2.5 million a year. So
And his brother, comes from a good stock, and so I like those guys, and he'll play. I hope he puts them with. I hope he puts them with Marner and Matthews. Boy,
here's the thing, Dad. That's strange. Nick, he got 15 points last year.
Yeah.
Or 15 goals, I should say, Richie. And he played a little bit. He didn't play in the first power play. He played on the second power play, and didn't play with Pasternak. He didn't play with the big stars, and he got 15 goals. And they signed him for $2.5 million a year. And I'm not knocking Zach Hyman, but Zach Hyman got 15 goals, and he played with the Rocket Richard winner and a first line arm start, and both got 15
and
goals.
he's going out and play with McDavid.
Now he's playing with McDavid, and he's playing with Draisaitl, and he got 7 years, $39 million.
I don't get it.
How do you And they're you're comparing the two? Yeah, I think you can really.
Salary is a good indication of what people think of you, isn't it?
Well, another team that I think is really going to be good this year is Ottawa. They signed Michael Del Zotto, 20. You get 2 years, $2 million, and Nick Holden got 3 years, and he's 6'4", and
he played well. He had 7 points in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he got 7 points in the playoffs. Montreal, the guy they got is I really like is Mike Hoffman. First year, it's the first year he hasn't scored 20 goals. In 7 years, 7 straight years, he got 20, and it's automatic next year. They got David Savard, Montreal.
Well, you think that was in because they think that Weber will be out for a long time, but he's a pretty good defenseman.
Yeah, and Vancouver. No, the guy I like they got is Connor Garland, and they got him from. And they're going to pay a lot of money for him. He got 5 years, $5 million a year. Luke Shen, they signed again, 2 years at $850, and Travis Hamonic re-signed, and Brandon Sutter's re-signed, and Halak. I mean, I think the pressure now. I think the general manager did a good job, and now is on Travis Green. You've got all the players. If you don't get a lot of injuries, you better do something this year.
Yeah, and they're not in a strong division. Their division's pretty weak, so they should be able to.
Funny, it used to be you went out west. They call it the trip of doom.
Yeah.
And if you went out west, and not now, they can hardly wait
Can
to
I
get
ask
out
a
west.
question with players and, how they feel and all that? When you're, obviously their salaries are all, public and all. Do players ever resent other players for the amount of money that they make?
Well, I never did.
You didn't resent if one guy, no? We don't.
I was just happy
Bet
with
you their
my,
wives and their
well, no, we didn't know.
You didn't know, but that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
didn't know. Look at how public all their
I remember-
salaries are now.
I remember, I remember the president, and he was a general manager, and he said, Don, I was making $4,500. He says, I'm putting you up to $6 million. Oh, $6 million. I wish it was $6,000. I said, holy smokes, I'm making $6,000. So you know what he told me after I was coaching the Bruins? He said, Jack Ryan. No, that's not right. What was his name? Anyhow, he
So
said,
now you've made it. You're coaching the
oh,
Bruins.
and so it
So
doesn't
this was
matter.
what, 20, 30
Yeah,
years
it doesn't
ago?
matter. He says, you know why I give you $6,000? He said, the lowest rookie coming from Toronto was making $6,000. There's no way I was letting you, 10 years you've been in the league, I was going to let you make $4,500, which was pretty good.
Well, didn't you say one time Punch Imlach offered you a contract in Springfield?
I remember that like it was yesterday. I walked into and there was Punch sitting back of the desk. It was all dark. I don't know why it was dark. Maybe that's why. So I walked in. I must have been a punk. I must have been a punk. That's the only thing I can think of. I was a punk. I really was. And so he sat down and he said, Don, and he went on to give his fellow spill. So I signed it and he said, don't you want to argue with me? I said, you going to give me any more? And he said, no. I said, well, what's the sense of arguing with you? I must have been a punk, though. I imagine coaching me. Anyhow,
So what were the dynamics there? Punch was the coach, and where was
coach,
Shore?
he was a coach and general manager, and he was signing for the Boston Bruins.
Oh, I see. So,
And he ran the club. And I remember when Shore come down Shore couldn't stand it any longer. He come down and tell us to bend our knee. And I remember him and Punch getting into an argument.
really?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there had to be a clash of the power of people between Punch Imlach and Eddie Shore.
Well, Eddie Shore had already sold the club, but he still thought he had the club.
Oh, it's the old story, yeah.
And Punch really gave it to him, and he gave it to Punch. And boy,
What was Punch saying that he was angry? Like what?
just never mind. You leave the players alone. I'll run the players. I'm running this practice. You're not running it. Oh, I remember what he said, boy. No, and we were guys at home were owned by Shore. We were really amazed.
You were probably hard to wipe the smile off your face.
Oh no, we were still scared of him.